Hi, everybody. Well, we have a verdict in New York City. So at 4:20 p.m., the jury, whom we thought was going to be released for the day, informed the judge that they had indeed reached a verdict in Donald Trump's first of, we hope, many criminal trials in New York City, and they should be rendering that verdict by 5 o'clock p.m. So I sent out the bat signal, and we have us some emergency nerds. So let's bring everybody in. Hey, Jen. Hi, Brian.
Hey,
Uh,
Hi, Mary.
yeah.
Hey,
So to
Brian.
everybody out there, if we seem distracted, it's because we're following feeds and making sure that we bring you the news as soon as possible, and hopefully it will be good news. But I don't know, Jen. Do you make anything of how incredibly quick the jury came to this decision? Came to a decision.
So I make something of the fact that they came to the decision quickly, but also that they said they just needed a little bit of time to fill out the verdict form. So obviously, it's a verdict, not a hung jury. It can't be a straight across acquittal, or you wouldn't have to fill anything out. You would just say, no, 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 all the way down on
Right.
the verdict form. So
Right.
we're dealing with the likelihood that they're still debating on a couple of these things. I was just watching MSNBC for a moment, and Andrew Weissman had a pretty good, as usual, observation that two of the alleged false business records were executed by the trust, whereas the others by checks by Donald Trump personally. So that might be the division there, and they're just trying to make sure that they understand that. There might also be dates they're choosing, or they might say one thing for checks versus other things for something else. Who knows what it is? But I would be extremely shocked if there wasn't at least one count or many guilty. And I'm a little in shock because I was 100%, I was 99% convinced that this would happen on Friday until, of course, I started to freak out when the judge was sending them home. And I'm like, how does he know there isn't a verdict? And, me being paranoid, I think, willed this into being. Just kidding.
Well, actually, Jen and I were on the phone and not talking about this at all because we're not obsessed. But Brian, we were talking about other things, honestly, and then one of us saw on something that that they were coming back into the courtroom, and then we realized it wasn't anything having to do with the jury because the bell hadn't been rung, and it was just the judge getting ready to release them at 4:30. So we thought we had made our way clear, and we weren't going to have to deal with this tonight because, like Jen, a lot of us thought it would be Friday, and they dragged us back in, Brian.
just
Hey,
when we
Allie.
thought we were safe, they drug us back in.
That's
Hey,
right. That's right.
uh,
And we're hoping Jen, Brian, Allie, and hopefully some other nerds are going to join us, that this is going to be a good thing. But Brian, there that we
yeah,
uh,
I was on. Actually, I was on the phone with someone who was a witness. I won't say who, but the the question.
let's narrow it down, shall
Let's
we?
narrow it down. A witness, but the one the one count that just I don't think that Donald Trump can get away from, if you're going to boil it all down, is the misappropriation of the funds that leads to uh, the IRS charge, and that particular felony, misidentifying funds as income that was actually a payback of a debt, is the one I think was the easiest to make. That's the one that Norm Eisen talked about. It's the one that Conway talked about. That's the one that the prosecutors talked about. So, like Jen, I don't think that he's getting away scot-free. Obviously, if they're having to fill out a form, it's real easy if they're going, he's not guilty. They just go, not guilty. And that's
Well,
the
they
end of
said they
that.
needed 20 minutes, so that's not just checking off 34
Yeah,
boxes. No.
that's that's
Yeah.
that's a bit of consideration. So I would be surprised if they came back with a straight not guilty. I don't know how many, that they would find him guilty of. Nobody knows but the jury at this point. But
34 sounds like a nice round number to me.
I like it.
But,
you know, Jen,
So,
you're muted.
you're muted, Jen.
yourself, Jen.
Two things. Jury's entering the courtroom. And
Okay.
shout out to Emily, who's in the chat. Emily says, hi, Mary.
Hey, Emily. Is Emily in the chat? Like as an eyes on the thread, so we don't miss anything. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
Do you have
Emily,
a
being
live feed you can put up?
try to be an eyes on the thread, so we know, if there are questions people have.
Well, I have my eyes on the New York Times. Okay, so Allie, we may need to cut off to see what's happening.
Yeah.
When something happens, but
Captioning on the TV.
yeah, I wish I had that. But the courtroom is extremely tense.
I can imagine.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't see it. But we've been doing a lot of tea leaf reading. But are you surprised that this has happened so quickly?
I am a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
me
felt like
too.
there was probably one or two people that just couldn't get around to like finding him guilty on almost any charges. I don't know. I just had I feel like I have pessimism a little bit, so I just kind of thought it would end up being a hung jury. But I am a little shocked. I feel like they honestly might have come up with a decision like yesterday and just been hanging out and celebrating since then.
As Jen said earlier, getting another free meal out of New York State,
Right.
which is possible. But I have to confess, I had a moment where I thought maybe there were just because I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't really thinking straight. I was like, maybe there are some people who were so dug in that they can't get past it, and they just know that. But then I realized there wouldn't be a verdict then; it would be a hung jury. So the fact that there's a verdict, we're going to find out soon enough. But I'm nervous. I don't like this feeling. I feel very anxious because, as always, it just. We're constantly in this situation where it feels like everything is always at stake no matter what, whether it's a Supreme Court ruling or a verdict in a trial or somebody getting away with something. The jury is filing in now. It's never just about what's right in front of us and the weightiness of this verdict one way or the other. And I guess, we need to I can't believe I'm saying this. We need to be prepared for all eventualities, but I think we also, Jen, need to be prepared for bad reactions either way. But of course,
you're going to get them.
Knowing what we know, the negative reactions will be much, much worse. If we get guilty verdicts. One juror appeared to glance at Trump, the others did not. I'm ripping off the New York Times because there are no cameras in the courtroom, so I have to rip somebody off. So.
I just saw or heard that if they look at him, that means it's more likely to mean that he's not guilty, and if they don't look at him, it's more likely to mean he's guilty.
Okay, so the fact that 11 out of 12 didn't look at him,
Yeah.
we'll take whatever we can get.
I know.
That doesn't always that isn't always the case, but in one case that I covered, there was a trial in Delaware of a guy that similar to Donald Trump, a narcissist on trial for a couple of felonies. It was almost the same thing. There was one who looked right at him and burned his eyeballs out, and the other 11 wouldn't even look at him, and they came back with guilty. But what does it mean? We're all guessing until they read it.
How are we doing? What is that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to turn on MSNBC.
We're providing the audio.
Sorry. No, okay. So I was just trying to see what's going on, but it wasn't. I wasn't watching live, unfortunately. In response to your question about the threats of violence, the good news is he doesn't have a lot of people outside the courtroom right now. So in terms of that space, that's good. One thing folks have to remember is that unless he has some kind of massive fit inside of the courtroom, there's not going to be any kind of sentencing or jail time right now. There will be a date for sentencing set. And even when there is a sentence, if it does involve home confinement or incarceration, because he was a candidate to be out on bail before.
Wait. We have a verdict. Whoa. Okay. Trump criminal trial verdict. The jury finds the defendant guilty on the first count. The remaining counts are being recited. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty.
Oh my
Count
God!
4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. Count 9, guilty.
Tell me when there's a not guilty.
No, I am going to say every single one of these counts out loud.
Okay, go ahead.
That's all we got. This is per
9
Adam
guilty?
Klasfeld
Oh my God.
on Twitter. So you know what? Maybe they were just checking off boxes. We're waiting for counts 11 through 34.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Holy shit.
The
What?
rest
This is a
of the
big- he
remaining
was found
counts,
guilty.
the
This
rest of the remaining counts, counts 11 through 34, Donald J. Trump has been found guilty of 34 criminal charges in the very first of hopefully many more criminal trials this lifetime criminal will face. This is a long time coming. This is a vindication for every single citizen of New York State and every single American. Thank God. I don't even know what to do with myself right now, but I'm
about a
so
booyah?
happy that we're
Booyah.
sharing this together, because we can never
Feels like Christmas morning.
overstate. This is the best flipping Christmas morning I've ever had in my life. We cannot overstate the vast importance of what just happened. So let's revel in it. Let's celebrate it. This scumbag finally got what was coming to him, granted in a very limited way, but it's the start of something. This is going to make difference. This is going to have an impact. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Don't let anybody blow smoke that this is somehow good for him. So let's celebrate this, and then let's prepare for what he and his followers are going to do following this. Guilty, 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 34 times guilty.
Hey, Mary, I
That
brought up the
is
New
it.
York Times as the ticker across the top with all of the counts.
Kyle, I
I
love
love
that.
it. I love it.
Listen, wow. I mean,
Oh my God.
This
Oh
is
my
historic.
God.
The first president, ex-president, to be
I'm
charged
telling
with
you, me leaving
felony.
New York was the best thing that ever happened.
yes, by the way, Adam was in New York this morning. This never would have happened if he hadn't left.
Yeah, thank you.
I just got home.
Oh
This
my God.
Historic day. That's I mean, history in the making, my brothers and sisters.
I want to hear what all of you have to say. I would love for Kyle to come back on in a minute. I'd love for Adam to come back on. I want Jen not to hyperventilate, but I want to say something first. And this is about the rule of law, its importance as a cornerstone of American democracy, and jury trials. Juries take their jobs very, very seriously.
Yes.
Do not let anybody tell you otherwise. They can set aside their prejudices, they can set aside their preferences and be finders of the fact and render a verdict that is absolutely as objective as human beings can be, and hews to the evidence presented to them. We have seen all of this, whether we're objective or not. The evidence in this case has been overwhelming. This jury did its job. All that Donald Trump and his minions have done over the last many weeks and actually years is try to undermine the American people's faith in the rule of law. They will continue to do this, but props to Justice Merchan, props to every single court officer, props to every single jury who set all of that aside and did their jobs for the good of the rule of law and the American system as we know it. I don't know. I feel proud. I don't know what I'm proud of exactly, but I feel proud. So Jen, give me your reaction.
Mary, my reaction is no one is above the law is no longer an aspiration. It is a reality. I almost started crying. I almost started crying because I've always believed it was more aspirational than real. I kind of knew even a few minutes ago day would come, this moment would come, but I'm actually physically shaken. I'm astonished. All 34 counts. I am grateful. And I will say this, I'm especially grateful for Andrew Weissman, who uncovered this during the Mueller investigation. I'm especially grateful for Michael Cohen, who never gave up and knew that people were going to call him all kinds of things and that he had the courage, even though he
Take
did a
that
lot
with
of
grain
bad
salt,
things,
but okay.
to step up. And also, I'm really proud of Alvin Bragg, who didn't
That's right.
didn't stick to his guns. He thought the case was going to go away. He didn't have so much pride in his decision that he was willing to pursue this. And
Can you turn
that's
that
what I have
volume
to
off,
say.
Brian?
The last thing I would say is, I'm going to have to do an update to my book, Big Dirty Money, because the preface is dedicated to how he always escapes justice. And one thing I said is that if anyone had actually treated him like the criminal that he was, he would have spent time in prison and not in the Oval Office. And guess what, folks? He will be spending, if not time in prison, he is now a felon. Donald Trump is a felon.
Felon.
Period. I wonder if he won't be able to vote now in Florida because
He's
of
not
that.
technically. He's not allowed. He shouldn't have. Along with many other people in Florida who aren't allowed to vote, even though they've served their time. Allie, your reaction?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I mean, I'm just taking in that the Republican nominee for president is a convicted felon as well. That's unprecedented. I mean, this whole thing is unprecedented. And I think, Mary, you hit the nail on the head that he has eroded so many of our institutions, almost all of them, honestly, just by his presidency and thereafter. And so I feel that this is like such a great such a great reminder, and that and like, I don't know what the word is. Great reminder that our institutions still work and justice can still prevail. And that, like Jen said, nobody is above the law. And it's a sad day, but it's also a great day because it shows that as America, democracy and our institutions will prevail over any narcissist and fascist that threatens them.
Absolutely. Brian, your reaction?
Well, I've been saying for months I didn't think Donald Trump would be on the ballot come November. I was told, hey, you must be nuts. Of course he's going to be on the ballot. I really don't think he will. And bottom line is, this is the first time a former president, has been charged with a felony. He has been convicted of a felony. And every Democrat in this country right now should start saying, the felon, Don the Con. That should be at the first words out of their mouth every time they mention this man. And it's justice. It's been a long time coming. I mean, I lived through death threats during this guy's administration. There were people in the press corps who were constantly threatened. He is a narcissistic felon. Congratulations to the jury. Thank you to Michael Cohen. Thank you to David Pecker. I never thought I'd say those two words, those two in a sentence. But for all of, and of course for Alvin Bragg. Remember, this case they had put away. They weren't going to charge him for this. They had stopped investigating him. They brought it back. And now let's see how the other three cases against him are fast-tracked, if they are, because he has now been convicted 34 felonies. 34 felonies. That's sweetness, baby. And that's, God, it's a long time coming. Justice has been served. I wonder what the sentencing will bring about.
Can't wait. Walsh?
Only time in his life that Donald Trump is batting for 100, 34 for 34. I was right across the street with I gotta put this back in, with my kids at pool, and I got Mary's email, and I'm like, what? And then I looked at Twitter, and then right then it came out guilty, and I ran here, and
because he saw the bat signal.
Yeah, I saw the bat signal. I'm like, really? And then I said, that could be either, putting on my former lawyer hat, I'm like, that could be it's either really good or really bad. Like, they came up to a decision quick. And I feel like, if I can personalize it for a second, for those of you who know or don't know, Mary knows this, Jen knows this, my family's been through the criminal justice system. My parents are formerly incarcerated individuals. They're not like Donald. They're mom and pop They had basically a battle with Microsoft and the government for like 10 years. They appealed it. They lost it. They went to jail for 4.5 years. They came out. They rebuilt their lives. My mom, if you meet her, everyone's shocked. She's like, "Your mom went to prison?" My mom's like, like these two nice South Asian uncle and auntie. And my mom looks at white collar crime. Jen Taub has written about it. It's a great book called Dirty Money. And she looks at Donald the last couple of years, and she says, "They threw the book at us. They sent us to jail for 5 years. And we've served our time. A guy like Donald spends his entire life criming, Mary. A guy like Donald, you have him dead to rights. A guy like Donald has 4 criminal cases, 88 indictments. A guy like Donald was held liable for rape against our friend E. Jean Carroll. A guy like Donald defamed and was held liable. Will this man ever be held accountable, ever, for his open life of crime?" And earlier today on Mary Trump's Nerd Avengers, I said the reason why this case is so important, the reason why any institution coming on and trying to hold him accountable is because he has escaped accountability. And for the rest of us, I would say, the rest of us who are poor, people of color, if you're Black, if you've been through the system, this is very symbolic, Mary. It shows that nobody is above the law. And even in this broken system, a flawed system, sometimes the system gets it right. And Donald Trump, a jury of his peers, fellow Americans, took him one day to say, this mother effer was guilty 34 out of 34. I don't know why I feel so good. I feel good. I feel sad because this is the guy who might become president, but I feel so good. And the last thing I'll say is wins are hard to come by, folks. Wins are hard to come by.
Yeah.
And I think it is okay to take this moment to exhale, to appreciate this, and to really celebrate accountability, the rule of law, and no mother effer is above the law, especially Donald.
Well, which is news because that wasn't the case until today. So I just want to update you. The sentencing is set for July 11th at 10 a.m. I assume that's Eastern time. As expected, Donald will have to receive a probation report as is standard in state court. That typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. And Kyle, I don't want to drag you in against your will, but if you want to come on and say something, because this is a freaking huge day, and I know we all have very personal reactions to what's happening. So if you want to jump in.
I don't have too much to add. I'm happy, like all of us here. I was actually just texting with my parents. My mom has been anxiously watching the television. She was a staunch, CNN, MSNBC watcher from 2016 to 2020, like a lot of us were. And then, finally when Joe Biden won, she felt like she could finally take a break. And a lot of this stuff, I think, is like brought up a lot of feelings, and this election coming up, I think, has brought up a lot of feelings with a lot of people that, like, are we gonna have to go through what we went through 4 years ago all over again? And moments like this make you feel like, all right, maybe there are, moments where we can all like take a deep breath and kind of like exhale and be like, okay, like things are working the way that they're supposed to be working. There are, good people out there fighting the good fight. And, we just have to keep on keeping on, and together we can make a big difference. And I really do believe if we can keep these kind of wins up and these feelings up, we can do great things in November and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. And, all of you said things that I want to expand upon. But I also do want to update you a little bit.
I have a question too. So did you say he's going to be held in custody until July?
No. He's been released on his own recognizance. And he's going to leave. He's going to go back to Mar-a-Lago or what have you. Although allegedly he looks defeated. Well, yeah, he is. But I think less of one. He's surrounded by Secret Service. It's not that easy. Because as far as
when they get the Putins.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as I'm aware, the Secret Service is still are still employees of the United States government. Not really sure. But it's this is Of course, Donald says, quote, "This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt." Get some new material, Donald, would be my advice to you. And I just want to say before I ask all of you to expand. Sorry, I just have to be somewhere else in a second, but let me set this up. We've been hearing for many, many months now that the way to hold him accountable is at the jury. Is at the ballot box. No, I mean yes, but no. Like, hold him account. You hold people accountable at the ballot box if they did a bad job, if they don't deserve to be reelected because of their malfeasance and their incompetence and their cruelty and the fact that they killed hundreds of thousands of people with a virus that they refused to contain, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, Danielle, I want to get your reaction 1 second. But the way you hold people accountable for their criminal behavior is this. And it is a deep and just completely unimaginable disgrace that out of the 4 criminal trials this man should have been facing this year, this is the only one we got. That having been said, however, I remember at the very beginning, like when I think Alvin Bragg was willing to open up the calendar to let the other cases go. And then this ended up being the only trial going. Like some of you have said, like, good for him that he kept going despite the fact that his predecessor was like, nah, despite the fact that Barr's Justice Department decided only to go after Michael Cohen and not unindicted co-conspirator number 1. So good for them for not dropping the ball and also for realizing just how significant this trial is. This was not a hush money trial. This is a man who knowingly and in a conspiratorial way tried to sway and may indeed have swayed the results of the 2016 election through illegal means. That is huge. This is how you hold criminals accountable. And this is hopefully how you make it impossible for criminals to run for the presidency, because allowing a criminal to do that is absolutely insane. So Danielle, welcome to Guilty Verdict Day. 34 for 34. As Waj said, this is the only time in his life Donald batted 1,000. How you feeling?
I just wrapped an emergency taping of the new Abnormal, which we had taped earlier, that goes up tomorrow. But like, I am shocked in all of the best ways possible. Like, this was the case, just like you were saying, that no one wanted to go forward. No one wanted it to be first because of the salacious nature of this case. But the fact is that this was about fraud. This was about election interference. And I think that the prosecution clearly did their job. I mean, when you look at this jury, they had to read through 50 some odd pages of jury instruction, right? 9 hours or 9 to 11 hours of deliberation. And, and they did it. And I thought that there would kind of be a mixed bag, count 3, not guilty, count 2, but the fact that all 34 counts, they understood the assignment and they delivered. So shout out to New Yorkers, because I think that anywhere else, that this would have been an incredible mixed bag. But yeah, shout out to New York, to the jurors, to Judge Merchan. We know, that it'll be appealed, but this is great.
That's okay.
It's a great day.
They'll let it. I let them. And Brian, I know you have to go. I just want to point something out really quickly, which is that I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead, Brian. Seriously, my mind is blown.
The phone going off, but
right.
Look, I just want to say 34 counts guilty. He can't count them all on his fingers and toes, baby. I wonder who counted them for him.
So he's not going to be able to get above 20, because then what do you do?
I think
anyway.
The most important takeaway from this is the accountability, as you all have said. But more importantly, I think that now the dam will break. And the Democrats have got to say every time they come out, again, guilty, guilty, guilty. He's a felon. And I know there are people who won't vote for him now that he's a guilty felon, but I don't know how much that will determine whether or not he's still on the ballot. I still don't think he'll be on the ballot, but I will say this: he may not be on the ballot in fall, but Jen, it's going to be one hell. I'm supposed to be at the Republican National Convention. I would not be surprised if Nikki Haley is there. It ends up on the ballot as the presidential candidate. I wouldn't, not at all.
Well, good luck with that, Nikki Haley, you anti-Semitic racist person.
But I love you all, and thank you so much. I'm glad to have celebrated this with you.
Yeah,
Yay!
absolutely. Thanks. We'll see you Tuesday. Yeah, what I was going to say earlier, and then I want to go to you, Waj, is that, yes, absolutely. Thank you to all of the prosecution witnesses who came in wanting this verdict, and that's okay. Like, you can want whatever verdict you want as long as you're telling the truth and telling, giving facts, right? Which, as we know, Michael Cohen, all of his facts were backed up with documentary evidence. But also, I think Brian was like, I never thought I'd say thank you to David Pecker, but just like Pecker and Hope Hicks and a couple of other people, they told the truth under much more difficult circumstances than somebody like a Michael Cohen or Stormy Daniels, because they actually still care about Donald and they did not want to be there. And I think that also takes a lot of guts. And, they could have committed perjury. I'm sure somebody might have made it worth their while. So, I think fair is fair. Okay, so Waj and then Jen.
So, Jen, I know you got to leave soon, so I'll be quick. What Brian was talking about, the dam breaking. Let's see. Right while Brian was talking, Mo Brooks tweeted or X'd, whatever the stupid platform is called now.
Yeah,
Donald Trump guilty of 34 felonies per jury of 12 random citizens. None sought job. GOP faces choice. USA future at stake. Keep Trump as nominee and gamble USA's future, or replace Trump with a good character nominee and beat the stew out of Biden.
Wait, Waj, who said that? Who said that?
Mo Brooks.
Mo Brooks said that.
Yeah. So here it is. This is where they see Caesar being weak. Who will come out with the shank? Mo Brooks just came out with a little bit of a shiv.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the Nikki Haley, what we already know is Donald said she has a complexion problem, and Ann Coulter made racist comments about her. So even if Haley comes,
right.
Mo Brooks has Mo problems. Thank you, Kyle. This is why we have Kyle. Mo money, Mo Brooks, Mo problems. I think my prediction for the Republicans, number one, is you're going to see them test out Donald's weaknesses. And they're going to test out this week whether or not MAGA betrays him or not. If MAGA betrays him, and I hope they kind of do, Donald will go scorch earth and burn down the RNC and everyone, including Nikki Haley, which is my hope. When it comes to Democrats, here's your opening. You get to tell the American people that a jury of your peers who are not seeking jobs just found Donald guilty. He is a convicted criminal. And my third dam breaking moment, which I'm most worried about, and we talked about earlier, Donald is desperate, a desperate animal with a violent mob.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about stochastic terrorism, and I worry about violence against Merchan, judges, law enforcement, the family members of the judges, the jurors. I just want to leave it at that. I don't want to leave it on an ominous note, but if you're talking about dams breaking, both good and bad, we have to talk about that as well.
We have to be realistic about that stuff. I saw Jen still had a couple of minutes. Yeah, so we need to keep all of that in mind. Absolutely. I think there are reasons that Donald has installed a family member at the head of the RNC. There are reasons that he has been making moves towards Project 2025, which is dismantling the quote unquote deep state, also known as just the civil service, the people who keep our government going. So Danielle, I know you need to jump, so just want to go to you for your last thoughts, or I should say, your last thoughts today, because this is a whole new world we're living in, it feels like.
I feel like every year for the past 9 years since Donald Trump came down that escalator has been a brand new year that we are living. And I just, you know what I want right now, aside from champagne, is that I want New York to be playing out of every window in New York City throughout the streets. Like I want a ticker tape parade, but I cannot express enough. You know, I think it was Andrew Weissman said, like, no one should be happy today. This is a sad day for America. No, it is not. It is a wonderful day for accountability. It is a wonderful day for law and actual order. It is a wonderful day for facts. And so no one should be shamed into feeling bad. Oh, woe is America. It's like, no, this is how the process is supposed to work. And it worked. So bravo.
Yeah, I agree. Allie?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this feels like kind of like when Biden won the election and everyone's just like celebrating in the streets. I feel like that's how New York should be right now. And I also feel like this is something that will permeate to everybody in the country. I know some people have been aware of the cases that are ongoing or cases that will be coming up soon, and not everybody knows all the facts, but what they do know is that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Like that's something you can message very easily. It's like when Roe v. Wade was overturned, all of my friends who had never didn't know a single thing about politics were all of a sudden politically engaged. So I feel like it's the same kind of thing, and people will fairly easily understand that he is a felon in the state of New York, and that does not look well. Like, I don't think that would be a positive thing for.
How do you spin that? How do you make that a positive? Oh, I think Allie froze. Okay, so hopefully she'll unfreeze.
Been going on for the past.
Oh, there you are. Are you back?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's insanity. Like you have like people, columnists, pundits saying, "Oh, this could be a good thing." How? In what universe? Like by saying that, you make it like a possibility in people's minds, whereas you should never ever say that. And Jenny, it's really interesting. I don't remember if it was the first or the second impeachment. They all just kind of run together. This fucking criminal. Like we've been dealing with this for so long. And there was, he was impeached but not convicted. But maybe it was when he was impeached. And I remember feeling, some level of vindication, but it also did feel like a dark day for America. I don't feel that at all right now. I mean, if I had the energy, I would be doing back handsprings down Broome Street, all the way to the courthouse. I'm actually very curious to see what's happening at the courthouse right now. But Jen, like the system finally held, and we really didn't think it would. How is that a bad thing? Like, how is that a dark day for America? This is nothing but something to celebrate. You're muted. You really
Apologies.
suck at that.
I'm having that.
It's
today.
okay. No,
This
listen,
is
we're all
not-
over the place. It's fine.
This is not a dark day for America. We always say, as quoting Louis Brandeis, that sunlight is the best disinfectant. And we have the jury just gave us 34 beams of sunlight to clean up this terrible infection. And I know it's something you mentioned, Mary, but I really want to reiterate this. It's something my friend Susan Solomon in Chicago, she's a lawyer as well, said, which I think really, really nails this. And I'm going to read her tweet from 16 minutes ago. She said this: understand what the Trump verdict means, that in fact, Trump unlawfully cheated to win the 2016 election, that the election law felon went on to nominate 3 SCOTUS judges. What profound injustice to us that our system has no mechanism to right this history-altering crime. But Susan and all of us, there is a mechanism. We really need to talk about this. I know it's, one, we need to remember that this was a case about election fraud. It was a hush money payments. He was convicted for a felony of intent to defraud to unlawfully help himself in the 2016 election, and there is fallout from that.
I just want to say, what an incredible disservice the media did to all of us by framing this as a hush money case from the very beginning, because it was sexier. It probably sold more papers. It got more clicks, whatever. It diminished the importance of the trial. It made people think that it wasn't that serious, especially as compared to the other 3 criminal trials, which, by the way, are not going to happen before the election. And I think, that might still stick with some people. And it really was, one, the facts of this case show us that, one, Donald really wanted to win this election in 2016. This wasn't some lark. I've no doubt in my mind it started that way in 2015. Just like every other time I've pretended to run for the presidency, I'll get lots of free publicity for my failing businesses, whatever. But then things changed drastically when his poll numbers kept going up, especially the more misogynistic and racist he got and anti-immigrant he got. Once he got the nomination, there was no going back. He wanted to win. And we need to remember that Donald has never legitimately won anything in his life. And he's so twisted and so narcissistic that for him, winning just means getting the W no matter what you do. It doesn't have to be a legitimate win based on what losers like us think. Cheat, lie, steal. As long as you get the W, that's all that matters. So he would do anything to get to the Oval Office. So there's that. And then, there's the fact that he actually did cheat. We may not be having, I don't want to start imagining what would have happened if he hadn't been allowed to be in the Oval Office. But we're talking about just a massive fraud on the American people, Waj, and calling it a hush money trial is just so incredibly wrong. The media really needs to start waking up.
Literally, as you were saying that, I was about to press post on this tweet that I composed, which is the following: Donald Trump falsified his business records to hide payments made to Stormy Daniels. He didn't want this news to come out during the 2016 election. He knew if people found out that he'd most likely lose. He barely edged out Clinton across 3 states. We all should be furious.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Because had this come out, I guarantee you Clinton is president. And people say, she won the popular vote. And it was a total, people forget this, folks. People say, Trump won. By a nose hair.
77,000 votes across 3 states.
Meaning, if 40,000 of those votes had switched, guess who wins? Hillary.
I think I know. Yes, Hillary Clinton.
And Jen just jinxed it, right? And it's one of those situations, you like Hillary, you don't like Hillary, I don't care. I think by now, 9 years later, it should be clear to anyone who is sober and who is not a cult member that Clinton would be 1,000 times better than Donald, who was a disaster. And as Susan said, Jen's friend Susan, it was a great tweet. We have 3 Supreme Court justices put in place that have overturned Roe v. Wade. And earlier today, just after we finished the Nerd Avengers, Justice Roberts, as we predicted, kind of said, "Hey, F you, Senator Durbin. Hey, I'm purposely doing the worst Jersey accent for Tara." And we're stuck. We're kind of stuck. And so the damage that has been done, the damage that will be done, which is why, in addition to that frustration, Mary, I want to echo why this is a good moment for us. I don't know if he'll go to jail. I'll stand by my prediction that this man will never go to jail. Because United States of America, if we look at Richard Nixon, if we look at the people we have rehabilitated, such as Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee, we're loath to hold anyone accountable. So will he go to jail? I don't think so. But the fact that next to his name for the rest of his life will be, convict, criminal, felon, Donald Trump, held accountable by a jury of his peers, 34 out of 34 counts. That might be, Mary, the biggest accountability that we get by an institution. And the second way where we hold them most accountable, in my opinion, is voting him out or making sure he doesn't come back in. But I think just knowing the court of public opinion, it's a prediction There's some independents there, folks. We've seen the primaries. 20% of people in some states are voting for Nikki Haley, even though she's not even on the ballot. Do you think a criminal conviction makes them more appealing or less appealing? And another tweet I was about to do was I sent it to Doug J. Balloon, a New York's pitch bot. I said, tweet out Donald Trump's conviction at the hands of fellow jurors helps him in 2024, which is coming out tomorrow, by the way. I guarantee you that's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the narrative that the right wing is going to be pushing because they have nothing else to push. So, of course, they're going to say, "Oh, be prepared now for this mass, this mass red wave rebuttal that's coming." And I don't think it exists.
But Ali, I mean, there in 2016 and certainly in 2020, there were plenty of now former Republicans who just had enough of the egregious behavior, the anti-democratic, the anti-constitutional, the cruelty, the racism, the misogyny, etc. But then there's also something that Waj alluded to earlier that can be a tipping point, and it's that he's a loser and a convicted criminal now. Like, in what way does that make him stronger, right? And that could be why we start to see people like Mo Brooks and maybe even the Supreme Court realizing that this is not a guy you want to bet the house on.
Right. I mean, I think some people also are just tired of all the chaos at the end of the day. Like, people that may have voted for him that now think, well, there's just too much baggage and we don't know if he'll even be in jail or not in jail or like what his sentencing is going to look like. So I don't know. I mean, personally, I would just feel like, look, if the guy that I was going to vote for is a convicted felon who could potentially be in jail, maybe I should reassess reassess the values that I care about so much. But
yeah, maybe.
And Ali liable for rape and defamation. I feel we always forget that.
And fraud, and a different kind of fraud, for which he's on the hook for $500 million with a B dollar.
And his corporations were already convicted too of crimes.
That's right. And he can't run a charity in New York State because he stole from me. My freaking God. Yeah. The fact that we're still, this is just the very first step is stunning, but we will take the legitimate win, unlike Donald, who will only take the illegitimate ones because he can't win, especially at golf, but not into the criminal justice system either. So all in all, a great day. I want to take a look at some of the headlines, and then Jen, you can say a thing. So the New York Times, which quite honestly has been one of Donald Trump's greatest enablers and who has constantly been giving him in-kind contributions to his political campaign since 2016, finally gets, I would prefer a much bigger font, honestly. But yes, Donald, I always have to translate it into Donald because otherwise it feels weird. But Donald, guilty on all counts, jury hands down historic conviction in, again, hush money. I'm pretty sure the jury did not convict him because he paid off Stormy Daniels. But, what do I know? So that's good to see. I'm getting the hard copy of that tomorrow morning. Anybody?
That's a good one. The editorial board here, Donald Trump, felon, as his, I guess, his new nickname.
And that's the thing. I have been trying, Kyle, for months now to come up with something pithy when talking about Donald. And it ended up being unwieldy instead. Donald Trump convicted in 4 jurisdictions and currently out on bail. It doesn't roll trippingly off the tongue. But Donald Trump convicted felon. That works for me. I think
I've just been saying criminal defendant, so I'm excited now. I get to say
you get to. It's such a sweet ring to it, isn't there? So Jen, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I did. So boy, Nikki Haley got some bad advice. If she had just stayed silent, if she just waited till June. This was a mistake because if she'd waited, no one would have known that she was going to be a turncoat. She could have done so well, but thank God she's such a craven, conservative who decided to kiss the ring, and that ring turned out to be brass. The other thing is, I'm really
Or
excited.
arsenic.
Arsenic. I'm really excited to learn how to say convict or felon in all the languages of the world. When I look at all that, I'm going to stay up all night just to see the newspapers across the world on Twitter. But I went onto thesaurus.com because I'm going to get tired of saying felon, and we can also call him a convict, a delinquent, a lawbreaker, an offender, or jailbird. But I think the only one right there is convict. Convict. Convict.
Well,
is
no,
good.
convict. I think that only
He's been
applies to people who
convicted.
are in prison.
No, convicted. Convict.
All right, felon works for me. I'm
Felon.
happy with convict.
Okay.
I don't need any. I could say, listen.
Convicted
One
felon.
thing Donald understands is just
Convicted
keep
felon.
repeating things over and over again. Today in
Convict.
his remarks, what happened to Jen?
Mhm.
Today in his remarks
know.
when he left, he just said the same thing he said thousands of times. It was rigged. I'm an idiot. Oh, he probably didn't say that. But that would have been the only truthful thing he said if he had said that. So I'm happy saying convicted felon until I'm blue in the face, until the cows come home, until the end of time, because it will always be true. God, do we have
Here-
any other?
Yeah, here, Mary, you got Washington Post.
Oh,
Big
okay.
story. Trump guilty on all counts. He becomes the first former U.S. president convicted of a crime. You have CNN. Big bold letters. Everybody's liking those big bold letters.
No, I like a serif. I don't like a sans serif. But okay.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
CNN.
same,
You
but-
know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you can't expect them to be classy.
You
Did
got
you
the.
bring up LA Magazine, Kyle?
Oh, I'll bring that up.
Oh
You got,
yes, let's
Oh, I want to see that. That's the
BBC.
best magazine.
BBC like way too muted and tiny for me. That's
It's a little
just too
small here.
That's ridiculous. Come on.
Can I? Oh, go ahead.
Fox News blasting rigged disgraceful trial.
No,
After-
but
So-
Kyle, even they had it after jury finds them guilty on all 34 counts. They couldn't escape it.
I think that's called burying the lead in the headline or something. But okay.
Yeah,
Tiny
that's all
credit
about how
report.
he's shredding the jury. Oh, protests erupt outside. I don't know if
Oh,
that's
yeah,
true or
I
not.
I don't think that's
Even
Well-
further down the line, you got OAN. Jury finds guilty on 34 counts in so-called hush money trial.
but that's true, so called. Like that's actually
Yeah.
reasonable, but they mean it in a negative way. But no, that's okay. Here we go.
Ali Samarco, lead story on LA Mag. Verdict is in. Trump is guilty.
Let's just get that font bigger and we'll be happy.
Okay.
Love the picture though. I
on
love
the
that picture.
front story. It's the cover story. So
Bump it up. Bump
Yeah.
it up.
That's awesome. Look at that face. Look at that pout. Oh my God.
You all know
Um,
what's trending right now. What's trending right now, in addition to guilty and no one is above the law, law and order, there is a God is trending in America. And the corresponding tweets are, there is a God. He was held accountable. But what's also trending is
God, we're so desperate. We are so desperate. It's
there
very
is a
sad.
God is trending right underneath rigged and right above sentencing.
One thing I don't know if Brian mentioned, I think he alluded to because I had said in the chat, timing this is, you know me and my calendars. So the
Yes,
sentencing
yes, I do.
is Thursday, July 11th. On Monday, July 15th is the beginning of the Republican National Convention. And also, of course, we've got Bastille Day in between, but whatever.
Okay.
How is that going to happen? How is he going to be sentenced to maybe prison and then also the nominee? How does that work?
Well, hopefully we'll find out. Because I don't remember who it was, and I think we talked about this earlier today, but I think before the trial, most people would have said there's no way he's getting prison time. But because of his behavior, both inside of the courtroom and outside of the courthouse during the trial, that I think he increased his chances that he'll get prison time. I don't think it would be a lot, but I think in all fairness, given just the stochastic terrorism, the misrepresentation, the undermining of the rule of law, the mendacity, and on and on and on. And mostly just going after private citizens.
Yep.
knowing how much power he has, knowing how much reach he has, knowing the platform he has, I think it would be quite honestly, and I think Justice Merchan. I mean, I think he went way too easy on Donald with the gag order stuff. Way, way, way too easy. But generally speaking, he did a really good job in under very difficult circumstances. From security to just the complexity of the competing issues that had nothing to do with the trial, quite honestly. But I think it would be bordering on malpractice not to sentence Donald to a serious what's the word I'm looking for? Not prison time. I mean, I don't know. I think it should be prison, but if it's not, it should be something substantive.
Home
Right?
incarceration,
What would
not able to
be-
leave.
Well, he's already incarcerated. He self-incarcerates. Like, he didn't go anywhere. But yes, like an ankle monitor or taking his pass. Well, I guess you don't need to take his passport if he has an ankle monitor. But I don't know, Allie. Like maybe community service, but like that he actually has to do.
Yeah. I think
Right?
anything but money is a worthy consequence. But I'm just curious too, like even if he had an ankle monitor, how does he attend the convention? I guess he could do it virtually. I don't know.
He'd have to get permission.
This is uncharted territory, and no one really knows how to do any of this.
Yeah, it's totally uncharted territory, and I have to be honest. I'm happy to see. Happy to see how the ship sails, because I think the damage here has been done. Our side, the side of right and the rule of law, is now fully engaged in a way we haven't been, perhaps because we're so demoralized, we're so on tenterhooks all the time. And anything that feels like pandering to him or giving him privileges that nobody else would get is going to activate us even more. And I think his side has definitely taken a hit here. Yes, we've got the psychos and we do have to worry about them because they're the ones who are going to carry out his unspoken but very clear orders and violence. Which is why I am sort of curious what's happening down around the courthouse right now. But they're the people who have been going along with this who know that it's wrong. Not that they care it's wrong, but they really did believe that they were placing their bet with the guy who was going to keep the power and give them more power. I think a lot of people are going to be rethinking this and will be backing off. At least we hope so. So Kyle is just letting us know that somebody shouted this question. Why should Americans vote for a convicted felon? What a good question. Waj, why indeed? And I just want to make something very clear. Like, we're not talking about somebody who was convicted of possessing marijuana, which is absurd and was always absurd. We're not talking about somebody who quote unquote looted during, because sorry, not looted, but somebody who shoplifted because they were starving and needed to feed their family. We're talking about somebody who cheated to win an American election. These are completely different things. So why indeed should we vote for this convicted felon?
Because the libs want to take away your freedoms, and they're gonna make your.
We want to take his freedoms,
and they're gonna put cartoons, lesbian cartoons, and they're going to take away beef and meat. Just something. You think we laugh, but I just in my brain I literally just did GOP talking points.
And by the way, who watched, just because this will cheer you up, the crowds outside the courthouse are cheering.
Lock him up! Oh, lock him up! Lock him up! Look, I agree with you, Mary. And I agree with Allie that I have neighbors I've shared with before, and I have neighbors who are very religious, evangelical Christians, white evangelical Christians. They told me they vote Republican all the time. They can't vote for Donald. They just can't. and because of his character. And this was before the 88 criminal counts. So they voted for Nikki when she was on the ballot here in Virginia. I think there are a lot of Republicans and independents who, once they get to the ballot box, I don't know if they'll vote for Biden, Mary, but knowing that they're re-electing a now convicted felon on 30, convicted by jury of his peers, 34 counts. And by the way, he has been held liable by a jury of his peers for rape, for defamation, for fraud. And by the way, he has 3 outstanding cases with a total of 54 outstanding indictments, which include his participation or alleged participation in a violent insurrection. I do not see how this helps him. And maybe, just maybe, I know Ali has to go. The last thing I'll say is this could be the 1 to 2%. That could be the election. If even 1 to 2% move away, Biden
Yeah.
wins.
Allie, last words.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was just going to agree with that. I mean, it's like, it's not even people voting for Biden, it's people just staying home simply. And I feel like a lot of people already feel that way, whether they're truly engaged in day-to-day news or not. They're staying home because they just don't feel excited about either candidate. And I think this is enough to make 1 to 2% or 3 to 4% of Republicans stay home. They don't want to say that they voted for a convicted felon. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
absolutely. Allie, we're so happy you could be here. Thank you. We'll hopefully see you next week. Enjoy your celebratory weekend. Happy Guilty Verdict Day. It's awesome.
Holiday now.
Yeah, this should be a national holiday. We're going to make it a New York State holiday. I'm on it. But I do want to say that I think that, Waj, what you were just saying, I think it makes it that much more likely that not just that, and again, I'm not taking anything for granted here, because sadly this country is so broken. This is a close election still, but we'll see what again, I know polls too far out, but it will be interesting to see polls in a week or two. But that aside, this does increase the likelihood that those other 3 trials, which Judge Aileen Cannon, whom I refer to as Donald's personal pocket judge down in Florida, and the Supreme Court are doing everything in their power to keep Donald from having to face a jury of his peers in these 2 of the 3 other trials. This may change that calculation. He may actually have to he may actually have to go to trial. And that makes this even better. And somebody tweeted, I'm a little giddy. He finally got the popular vote. Yes, he did. In fact, overwhelmingly, unanimously, as it were.
One thing, Mary, power shifts quickly once you have it, and then you don't. I keep thinking of Julius Caesar. If he is finally seen as weak, and this is just, a thought experiment. We don't know what's going to happen. This is also for the community who's watching us. Thank you for the 900 folks who've tuned in. We know in Virginia and DC, I can tell you Republicans who have told me, we hate Donald. Elected officials hate him. But he has such a stranglehold over the party. And speaking of stochastic terrorism, as Mitt Romney admitted, him and his colleagues are afraid of violence against them and their families. So
welcome to the friggin' club and get a spine.
Yeah, well,
we were talking about that today, right?
There's no excuse, but what I'm saying is, if they see weakness now, and if he's going to lose, and we have these 3 existing cases where I believe they have him almost dead to rights in all 3 cases, those 3 cases as well. Maybe, and this is me finally amending myself, maybe, just maybe, he might be the first president to actually serve time in jail. Because if he loses this election, they know he's done. He is exposed. He'll be weak. The last vestige of power that he has is this mother effer might become president. And if he becomes president, he'll be the most powerful man on earth. He loses that election, I think it's Julius Caesar time, figuratively.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with that.
Hey, Mary.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I know, we're kind of talking about I know the Republicans are probably still working on like their line and what they want to say about this and where they stand on a lot of these things. But this was Ted Cruz's tweet right after the verdict came out. So at this point, he seems like he's still a little bit in it for Donald. He's obviously very closely tied. This is a dark day for America. This entire trial has been a sham. It is nothing more than a political persecution. The only reason they prosecuted Donald Trump is because Democrats are terrified that he will win re-election. This is a disgraceful decision, is legally baseless, and should be overturned. By the way, didn't Ted Cruz go to like Harvard Law School?
I believe he did.
I have a little
this-
Ted Cruz story. But
Okay.
you know how he always says that he got the highest grade in his constitutional law class with Larry Tribe? I went to law school with him, but with Ted. Anyway, so it's I can't say how I know, but that's not true.
And he also, I just want to remind folks, when we say the word cult, Donald mocked Ted's wife, and he mocked his father, and he mocked Ted.
Wait a second. He didn't just mock it. He accused his father of assassinating JFK.
All right, Kel, yeah, that's true. Okay.
And he mocked his wife by saying she was ugly.
Yeah, that's all right.
I
yes.
mean, Jesus. And Ted Cruz is the sycophantiest of the sycophants, excepting, of course, Lindsey Graham. I mean, these.
But Mary, it's very deliberate because what he's trying
Yeah.
to do, what Ted's
Yeah.
trying to do here is, I will court the MAGA base.
Yep.
And once Donald falls, I will be the presidential nominee. That's his pivot right now.
I'm going to make a prediction, and then we're going to wrap up. So you two can also make a prediction, or just give us your last thoughts before we all go off to have champagne. Figuratively speaking, because I think we all have to work tonight. I think once Donald is displaced, MAGA's over. I used to think that Trumpism would survive that Trump. I'm not so sure anymore. One, there's nobody to replace him, and two, he's just causing way too much damage to his image and to the idea of all he has is this myth that he's strong and tough and whatever. And we saw it on the way outside of the courtroom. He couldn't even hold it together and say anything with conviction. Like he just like skulked out because he never saw this coming. He never in a billion years thought that this would happen. So it's very destabilizing for him. He's not going to be able to hold together. I think this is a death knell. I'm not guaranteeing it, of course, but I think that's a reasonable hope at this point. So Jen, any last thoughts before you go off and pop the cork on that Veuve Clicquot?
Yeah, sadly, I have to work. But
Yeah,
yes,
totally.
figuratively, I feel like they say there are many stages, 7 stages of grief.
Yeah.
I have gone through like 7 stages of joy, and anger.
Which
and-
includes grief, by
which
the way.
includes grief and
Yeah.
all of it. And I don't know where I'm gonna land.
And you
there's
just
no-
alerted us that he's losing it on Truth Social,
Yeah,
also
he
known
is
as
really,
Truth Central.
I don't know if I can pull up his truth, Kyle, because I think you can only have it on your phone. I mean, I could show you. He's the funniest thing.
I got it
Oh,
here.
you got it. Okay, you want to
Okay,
look it
cool.
up because he's showing this video and he thinks he looks strong, but he looks like he's about to cry on his walk out of the courtroom. Are you looking at that black and white?
Oh
thing at
my
the top?
God, my civil
So it
rights.
started, yeah. So highly conflicted judge, highly conflicted biased judge. My civil rights have been totally violated.
This is my favorite part. Play this video. Oh, that's not the video. Sorry. It's the one at the very top that's black and white.
That's just a. Is it
going.
this one?
No, the very top of
No,
it.
that's
There
this
you go.
one.
There you go.
Let me zoom out a bit here.
I don't think there's sound, thank God.
It's really well edited.
Yeah, no, it's good. Look,
Oh, there we go.
look.
Look at me. I'm skulking.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing and always like freaks me out that I had the great misfortune. Oh God, can we stop it? Because I
Yeah,
can't.
I know
can't.
it's too much. He's
Um,
bumming. He's harshing my buzz over here.
I had the great misfortune of being at the White House in 2017, and it was for my aunt's birthday parties. Both my aunts Mary and Elizabeth were celebrating the birthday party. That's why I was there. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Trust me, it was terrible. And at the very end of the evening, even though we were there to celebrate my aunts, everybody took pictures with Donald. Okay, it was just it was insane. And it was my turn, and I said I wanted to bother him, like I wanted to say something, and I just said, and this was like at the beginning of his administration. Flynn was on the way out. It was going really badly, and I just said very snidely, "Don't let him get you down, Donald." And he said, "They're not going to get me." And he jutted out his chin, and he clenched his teeth, and he
Wow.
jutted out his chin. And I'm not kidding. Like, he looked exactly like my grandmother. And it was the creepiest thing ever. But it was just like so pathetic. And it was like a cross between a pout and a sneer. And he couldn't quite pull off the sneer. And that's it. Like, he's just pouting around. And again, it's because I know him. I've known him forever. But I do not understand, guys. Like, why anybody looks at him and sees anything but a weak, thin-skinned, pouting baby. Like, that is not strength. That's defeat. That's skulking. That's temper tantrum throwing. It's all that, right, Waj? I just don't get it, and I never will.
My final comment is, first of all, it's always good to see Mary genuinely loopy and happy. You have a dry sense of humor like I do, and I feel like you're like a giddy schoolgirl right now. And it's summer vacation, came early. And so it's good. It's good to be happy about this. And my prediction moving forward is, let me use a Lord of the Rings reference, because we oftentimes do Star Wars and Star Trek. Smaug, the dragon, the invincible dragon. He has, for those, spoiler alert, but when people tried to take him out, they didn't get him, but they got in his armor, in his chest, there was a hole, right? And they said, aha, that is a vulnerable spot. If you take the spear and get in that hole, you kill him. And so I feel like if people are looking this as the death knell, this is not the death knell, but this is exposing him, like exposes him in a bigly way. And I feel like now, if Democrats play their cards right, and if my prediction is correct, is that some Republicans will test the waters and try to Julius Caesar him. You chisel away, you weaken him, even if it's 2 points. Even if he goes down 2 points, folks, a point and a half. That's the election. And I feel Biden wins. And if Biden wins, and he has to win for the sake of our democracy, that's when that'll be the spear in Smaug, and that'll be the spear in Donald. So if you're looking for like it's over by tomorrow, you'll be disappointed. But if you see this as a long-term major weakness, his armor exposed in a fatal way, that's
and
the win.
It's such a good analogy. Another unwieldy creature who cares nothing about riches, right?
Sits on a pile of treasure.
Sits on a pile of treasure
that doesn't belong to him.
And does nothing else except play golf badly. So it's a good day for America. It's a good day for the rule of law. And you know what? It's a good day for us. And I think that's fair. This has been a friggin' slog. Although I have to say that, if I had to go through a slog, I'm just happy to do it with you guys. And it makes the good times even more enjoyable and celebratory. So thank you so much to Danielle Moody, Ryan Karam, Alyssa Marco, Jen Taub, Waj Ali, and to all of you. Like, there are almost 1,000 people showed up today to celebrate with us. That means so much to us. You have no idea. We're just going to keep this thing going, and honestly, I feel like this is fuel for the very tough 5 months ahead. So let's allow ourselves to be energized. All right, guys, thank you so much. And to all of you watching, we will see you back, unless there's some other emergency, but hopefully we get a few days to digest this. We will be back Tuesday, 12 noon Eastern with the Nerd Avengers. Have a wonderful weekend, and please stay
Wait,
safe.
Mary, I'll be on tomorrow morning.
my
I'll have
God,
Morning Jen.
I
Don't
am
write
so
me off.
sorry. I didn't mean to. I just forgot because as Waj pointed out, I'm a little giddy. Yes, Jen started a morning show called Morning Jen in which she previews the news events of the day. I have no idea what she's going to talk about tomorrow. You know,
I'll
but
come up with something maybe.
it'll be
I
a
don't know.
surprise. But seriously, guys, check it out. We've got the second episode of A Muslim and a Jew Walk Into a Podcast that aired today with Mehdi Hassan. I mean, it was amazing. You've got to check that out as well. That's up on the Mary Trump Media YouTube page as well. We are going to keep growing this thing, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you all so much. We'll see you soon. In the meantime, please stay safe and be kind.